Well, our next guest was one of the pioneers of the blogosphere. Co-founding the Huffington Post in 2005, Arianna Huffington was named one of Forbes magazine's most influential women in media. I sat down with her and got her take on some of the conversations taking place on the sidelines here at Davos.
You're absolutely right. It was funny because at the Newsweek lunch on Friday, you had Lally Weymouth between the head of the Palestinian Authority and the president of Israel. And then you had the president of Goldman Sachs at the same table with Barney Frank, who wants to obviously regulate what's happening, and actually said at the lunch that the regulation will go through by the spring. And so there is that mix of people and very, very contradictory ideas about what we should do moving forward. And that's one of the exciting things about Davos.
In the global regulation conversation that's happening, we're hearing more about upset, that there's too much happening in the political arena, not enough happening in terms of conversation between central bankers. I mean, what are you hearing? Well,
actually, Larry Summers talked today about the need to get closer to the other central bankers and to make sure that they're aligned, because it can't just happen from within one country. But what is interesting to me is that the bankers are upset because they feel they've become the target. The people are upset because they feel the bankers have gotten away with everything and they're making massive profits while they're suffering. So what is interesting is that nobody really is happy, and there is that uncertainty that's dominating a lot of the discussion. And legitimately so, because we still don't know how we're going to keep people in their homes, you know, with a tremendous increase in foreclosures, and how people will be able to go back to work. You know, 18% real unemployment. That's pretty dramatic, with underemployment and people who are too discouraged to look for work.
Now, for you at Huffington Post, and when you get this sense of what the pulse of the conversation that's going to continue when we leave the Swiss Alps, I mean, what do you think the public is understanding of all the topics that are swirling about here at Davos?
You know what is fascinating? That if you take, for example, the discussion of the spending freeze that the president spoke about in the State of the Union and earlier, nobody believes it. Nobody believes it will make any difference. It's like there's the one place where there's absolute consensus. Like Neil Ferguson from Harvard called it a joke. Paul Krugman has called it a stupid. And only 9% of people believe that it will make any difference. So that people somehow get it. It's kind of interesting, because even if they don't know all the financial details of what's happening and what derivatives are being traded or what exactly the spending freeze will entail, they have the sense that they cannot trust it. I mean, when the president said that there is a deficit of trust, I think there's a deficit of trust everywhere, including here among the participants.
Thank you so much, Arianna Huffington, for joining us here today in Davos. Bit of a skeptical view there from Arianna Huffington. She mentioned there the deficit of trust starting to really dominate conversations here at Davos, she thinks, and she's going to continue to see that, she says, in the blogs and the conversations that are continuing to take place when we leave the Alps, when you check out Huffington Post.